Welcome to our channel where we update the most fascinating stories, dramatic plots and in-depth analysis of famous movies. If you are a lover of conflicting dramas, tense mind games and unpredictable situations, then this is the destination for you. Let's join together to discover the most thrilling stories, where emotions are always pushed to the climax. The late afternoon wind blew gently through the cold stone corridor of the Grayson mansion, where all secrets never seem to sleep. The red sunset seemed to signal a harsh truth about to be revealed. Bill walked lightly through the back garden, his shoes leaving footprints on the moss-covered gravel path. He was not looking for anything specific, simply trying to escape the chaos in his mind. But that seemingly peaceful moment turned into the beginning of a breakdown that he could not have expected. Among the dense foliage, he saw Dani, the woman he loved, the one he had thought would be the only light left in a life full of darkness. She was standing near the ancient lake, where the two of them had spent endless evenings with vows under the moonlight. But this time, Dani was not alone. She was facing a strange man. Bill did not know who he was, but after a second, that no longer mattered. Because right before Bill's eyes, Dani leaned towards that man, giving him a kiss, a familiar kiss, once Bill's own, once a symbol of the purest love he could believe in. Time seemed to freeze. Bill stood still, unable to breathe, unable to turn away, unable to move forward. Everything collapsed inside him like a building that had been detonated from the inside. His heart, the only thing that had remained steadfast after so many battles, after so many scars from the past, now seemed to shatter into 100 pieces. His eyes welled up, not with anger, but with the deep pain of unspoken betrayal. He turned to leave, but his steps became heavy as if they were being held back by chains. Memories of Dani came flooding back, each one now like a knife cutting deep into his heart. He remembered the way she looked at him when it rained, remembered the tight hugs in the dark when they both thought they had lost everything. And now, she had given everything that had belonged to them to someone else, in silence, without explanation, without warning. Bill didn't know what had changed Dani, but he knew one thing for sure: he was no longer the center of her world. That hurt more than any rejection. But what Bill couldn't get over wasn't losing Dani, but not understanding why he had been discarded like a worthless card. And that uncertainty, in itself, awakened another side of Bill, a side he didn't even know he had. Back at the cabin deep in the woods, where he had hidden from the world after losing his father in a mysterious accident, Bill was lost in a trance between reality and memory. Strange dreams began to appear, taking him back in time, to small moments he had passed by without paying attention, a phone call that was interrupted. Dani's eyes once glancing at that strange man at a party, the time she left the house at dawn without warning. The pieces begin to fit together. And what Bill thought was the first moment of betrayal turns out to be the final act of a long series of lies. He decides to return to Grayson. Not to hold on to lost love, but to seek the truth even if it means destroying him all over again. He begins to stalk Dani silently, not as an enemy, but as a ghost of the past she is trying to bury. Every step, every conversation, every time she quietly leaves the house at night, all of it brings Bill closer to a truth more devastating than he could have imagined. The man Dani kissed was more than just an interloper in their relationship. He was part of Dani's dark past, a past she had never shared. A man who was thought to have died in a mysterious fire 3 years ago. His name was Marcus, and his return seemed no coincidence. Bill discovers that Marcus is not only an old flame, but also holds the secret to a murder Dani may have been involved in, the death of the Grayson heir, which was ruled an accident. Each new discovery is like another nail in the coffin of trust. Bill is no longer a man who suffers in silence. He begins to investigate, using old connections in the press, reopening files that seemed forgotten, digging up evidence buried under the dust of time and money. He is no longer looking for love, but for justice, or perhaps freedom from the shadow of Dani, the woman who taught him to love, and who also made him doubt all the most beautiful things. The deeper he goes, the more he realizes that he is not just dealing with a broken love, but with a much more complex network, where Dani is not just a victim or a traitor, but perhaps a key link in a dark game that is being restarted after 3 years of silence. And at the center of it all is the stone gate in the Grayson forest, once rumored to lead to another dimension, where forgotten memories and unspeakable truths are kept. The following days passed in the town's false silence, but inside Bill was a simmering storm, a desire to get to the bottom of the truth that he could not contain. Since the moment his heart was betrayed, Bill was no longer the vulnerable and naive man who trusted Dani's gaze. He had become a different person, sharp, sober, and ready to break all moral boundaries to follow the traces hidden behind the enchanting mask of the woman he once loved. His pursuit of Dani took him to strange places deep in the forbidden Grayson Forest, a place the townspeople warned against visiting after dusk. There, he discovered an abandoned house where Dani often met Marcus every weekend. More than just a sexual rendezvous, this place was filled with ancient objects, maps, notebooks, and strange symbols carved into the walls in dark and dried blood. Bill realizes that he has entered a strange rift between reality and the underworld, where the normal no longer holds true and the logical assumptions that once supported reason begin to crumble. One night, Bill secretly breaks into the abandoned house after Dani and Marcus have left. Among the tangled papers, he discovers an ancient map marking the location of the gate, a place sealed since the 19th century by the town's founders. According to legend, the gate can open another dimension, where time does not exist and the past and future coexist in a torn state. It has been the target of many hunts, sacrifices, and mysterious disappearances that the town has always tried to hide. In his dreams, Bill begins to see recurring images: Dani standing in the middle of the forest, her eyes lifeless, clutching a bone locket. Marcus is chanting ancient incantations by the stone pedestal, and he himself, in a different version, cold and fierce, is holding a stone mask and walking through the red portal that opens wide in the darkness. There is no doubt that this is not just a story of broken love, but a cycle of fate that is returning after being sealed for more than a century. One rainy evening, Bill returns to the starting point, the Grayson mansion, not to confront Dani, but to find the memories stolen from his own mind. In the basement, locked for many years, he discovers a hidden room behind an ancient brick wall. Inside, a stone chest is sealed with ancient symbols. On the lid is the symbol of the portal and the words, "He who awakens will be the end." Inside the chest is an old diary from his ancestor, the fourth gatekeeper, who disappeared without a trace on a red moonlit night in 1887. Through the diary, Bill learns that his blood carries a curse, a chain that binds the two worlds. Once the final key is found, the one Dani holds, the gate will open forever, and all boundaries between present, past, and darkness will collapse. But what shocks Bill most is not the existence of the curse, but the fact that Dani is not a victim. She is the last descendant of the lineage that vowed to destroy the gate and release the beings that sleep beyond the veil of the world. Her approach to Bill, her love for him, and now her betrayal, all part of a century-long plan. Bill realized he had two choices: either he would let the past repeat itself and become an instrument of destruction, or he would end it all, including the love that had once been his soul. That night, the blood-red moon appeared for the first time in centuries. Grayson Forest was lit by strange fires. Birds fled their nests in panic, and the ground shook as if it were about to split open. Bill entered the heart of the forest, where Dani and Marcus were performing the final ritual. The gate, a spiraling column of stone, glowing softly, began to crumble into pieces. Without a word, without a look of remorse, Dani only looked at Bill with the cold eyes of someone who no longer believed in salvation. Bill stepped forward, drawing out the ancient dagger wrapped in black cloth. The thing recorded in the diary is the blade of death. There was no fighting. There was only one action. A stab through ritual, through expectation, through long-dead love. And in that moment, it all came crashing down. The gate closed, the ground split open, swallowing Marcus, Dani, and all the sins of the past. Bill collapsed, exhausted, his eyes wide, but this time there were no tears, only emptiness. When the sun rose the next morning, the Grayson Forest returned to its usual silence. No one remembered the night before. No one remembered Dani, or Marcus. But in Bill's heart, the only survivor, everything remained. He bore the scars of what was lost, of truths no one was allowed to know, and of a love that had made him believe that this world still had something sacred to hold on to. And then he vanished, leaving no trace. Some said he was mad. Others said he was dead. But there are nights, under the pale moonlight, people still see the shadow of a man walking in the middle of Grayson Forest, holding a stone mask, as if guarding something that no one dares to name. Thank you for taking the time to follow the article. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click follow to not miss the latest updates on your favorite movies as well as the next in-depth analysis. All your comments and shares are a great motivation for us to continue bringing you the best quality content. See you in the next videos and articles.